So are PhDs from top universities better than getting one from a regular university? I actually want to talk about that today because I think it's very, very important. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Massack. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward to help you out. So I'm going to answer this, and the answer you probably don't want to hear is that, yeah, I do think that they actually are better, but it's not for the reasons that you think they are. So you might see, and you could see all of the sort of different rankings out there in terms of what a top PhD might look like, that they would go to certain universities, right? We can all probably name all the ones that you're thinking of, right? Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, all the sort of elite Ivy Leagues, Cambridge, all that kind of stuff. And it's not because they're qualitatively better, and that might be actually the case, and it's hard to measure quality of a particular asset. It's very, very hard to measure that. Trust me, tried to measure it. It's very difficult to do. But there might be underlying resources that those particular individuals get access to that you will never get access to. And it's because of how the social structure of how human beings actually work. And it plays out very much so in academia as human beings, as we default to what is called high status actors. And so high status actors tend to get more endorsements from other people, what are called endorsements. This is all this is sociology. And they get endorsements from other people, and they also get access to opportunities that other people cannot get, that simply because of the thing that they're getting, or simply because of the institution that they're at. And so they might get, they might get access to not just resources that you're thinking of, money and all that kind of stuff, but you're thinking of access to, maybe it's, an editor that's next door, or their professor is a world-renowned, professor in a certain area, and then it's easier for them to see what are sort of the best possible courses of action to go forward, because those people know, they've seen it all before, they see what's sort of at the cutting edge, and they know where to go from there. So there's a lot of opportunities, there's lots of sort of hidden things that you see that you would never get. And so because of that, you end up getting opportunities to go in other areas. So you might go and get a job more easier at a better high status institution. They tend to sort of hire their own. You'll see that. Just go look at the records of people that are at high status institutions. And they all kind of hire their own, right? So if you're at Caltech, they're going to hire somebody that is at MIT, for example. And there's kind of this kind of pattern that happens. All of this is not new. This is not sort of breakthrough stuff that I'm saying. This is actually all based on the Matthew effect. It's a very well-known effect that has happened, been talked about for like 40 years now at this point. And we know all of these behaviors happen. We're just making more sense of how they actually work and what they actually look like at this moment, and what are the sort of mechanisms that go on to drive this behavior. And so we end up getting over time, because you have that sort of initial boost of performance, of access to different opportunities and endorsements from others, all those things, then you get another boost the next time that you get more, it's easier to get a publication, for example, and then another one, and then another one. Now, what makes it tricky with all of this is that underlying what they're doing is that there is resources that they might be better at, right? Or they might be really good at something. And so because they're really good at those different things, they have underlying skills and assets that they have, then they might naturally be better than everybody else anyways. And so that's what makes the problem so really tricky, is that those people get chosen, they get selected to go into there. So they have really good or really high scores, for example. They might have went to really good institutions in their undergraduate program. And so it's really hard to tease apart what is going on. Generally, what we do know in terms of the sociology of this, most people that go into those kind of institutions, they're going to have resources. They're going to go to better institutions in their undergrad, which means that they probably had very supportive parents, which means that they probably had parents that understood what university was about, which means that they probably also had some sort of financial resources or were doing certain things. So there's this whole mechanism that plays out that's very hard to tease out, what is driving that behavior, right? And that's the challenging thing with all of this. Are those individuals fundamentally better than somebody else? So personally, I don't believe that. That's not my belief. I think everybody has certain things that they're good at and certain other things that they're not good at, but a lot of it has to do with training and being coached and all of those kind of things that allow you to get those resources. But does that mean everybody can do that? No, because not everybody is getting that training and coaching and getting those resources that those individuals can possibly get to. And so even if we try to train everybody, and even if we try to get to the moment where we're doing a really good job of coaching people to do these things, and I'm doing this right now, it means that somebody else is going to be better coached, or somebody's going to pay attention to something a little bit better, and they get access to opportunities that you wouldn't get. So our top universities better? I would say in terms of career prospects, I would just honestly, they are better. But there's also something that's tricky. If you look at the long run outcomes of people that go to top universities, you end up getting is kind of like a bifurcation, right? Where some people do extraordinarily well because they do that. But then there's a lot of people that just simply don't because of many other things. And, they might end up having some life crisis. They might undergo different problems that they've experienced in life that changes their course of direction, or they might go through an epiphany and they sort of think this is not for me. So there's many different things in terms of what ends up happening. So we need to stop sort of thinking of performance in kind of like this very unilateral way of measuring performance, and thinking of, hey, everybody's got, they can go into different directions and do all sorts of things. However, if you want to go in this sort of traditional path of what it looks like to become a traditional academic, going to top universities tends to end up netting you better in the long run. It's really tough to have that course of direction for your whole life and continue to do that. Lots of people have different things going on. And so they might not want to be a traditional academic their whole life, or they might not be able to for various different things that happen. So yes, going to a top university is actually probably going to be better for you, and there's this whole pecking order. Now, what is a top university? So this is the thing that's kind of like tricky. Where does one become like a good university to a top university? And the fact is, it's really hard to sort of tease that effect apart. It's challenging to sort of look at where something becomes a top university. So I would say anything that's basically in the top 100. Basically, if you sort of break it up into that, where you have the top 100 is really good. The top, top 10 is probably going to net you sort of some better returns, whatever that looks like. And it's sort of hard to tease these apart. What are in the top 10? What are in the top 100? There's lots of different factors that go into that, and it's not necessarily clear. What you can sort of judge in terms of what is a top university and what that might look like, a top PhD program, is to simply ask around. And if everybody knows that you're talking to, they're like, oh yeah, that's an extraordinarily good university, then it's probably a top program, and everybody can sort of relate to that what's going on. So remember, it's a social process. It's not quantifiably better and all that kind of stuff. You have to look at how other people are judging this process, right? And what they're thinking about. And if you can talk to your mom or your grandma or your dad or whatever, and they're saying, oh yeah, that's an extraordinarily good university and everybody knows it, then it's probably a top university. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Oh, and I'm trying to create PhD program rankings. Go on to the Reciprocity blog. Go check that out. There's people that have put rankings in for their different PhD programs. But as well, you can add that. It's crowdsourced. So go add that if you want to. I'd appreciate it. So look up PhD program rankings, reciprocity.com. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.